Yeah, the last person lasted 72 hours. I'm not applying. I'm not.
I actually was like, when I met Theresa earlier this week, I was totally fangirling. It was like really bad. And I'm sort of embarrassed and going to turn bright red right now. But it's true because I've been following her on LinkedIn and I had a spot open on my show. And I was like, hey, slid into her DMs and said, would you, I don't know, be free next Thursday? And lo and behold, we got a gem here in the nick of time. Marketing of how we market, as well as for all of those lovely humans who are trying to find their next job, which the struggle is so real. And so I get to bring both of these things together for y'all in a way that is so actionable. And that is like why I love doing this. She is a hands-on strategic leader willing to lead by doing. She leads with curiosity and aims for the highest goals, never shying away from taking calculated risks and embracing ambiguity as it comes. Through storytelling, she brings product and platform stories to life as relevant client solutions backed by data, context, and case studies. Theresa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to the heart of our conversation and spill all of the tea in job hunting, what's your story? You know, what are you looking for these days in terms of your next gig, and how did you get to this point in your career?
I currently am on the lookout for my next demand gen / growth marketing role. So if you are a hiring manager or no one, keep me in your thoughts. And on the whole, I'm an industry agnostic marketer. I started my marketing career working for a jewelry store. This store didn't even have a website. So I really started figuring out like, how could we post on social media? Within just a short period of time, by posting on Facebook, I was pulling in $25,000 every month in quantifiable sales. And it's super easy for that attribution. When somebody comes in with their phone and says, this ring, do you have this ring? No, can you make another one? I will never have attribution that clean ever again. And that's the truth, right? So from there, I went to work for a SEO company. I got to learn the finer points of SEO along with building social media plans for all of his clients, everything from mold remediation to sedation dentistry, the sexiest of industries. And then I kind of, went through, learned a couple more things as I went on. I've done higher ed. I worked for a couple of years at an independent board game company where I was a part of 3 Kickstarter campaigns, all of which performed in the top 1% of all campaigns ever. And then I went to work for tech. So I have really gotten to see how things go and really take a bunch of disparate industries and learn from all of them.
I'm working with a law firm right now, and having worked in B2B tech for so long and seeing those long sales cycles, that take months and months and months to get somebody from seeing your very first impression to actually closing a deal, you're looking at 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get that going. So when you're in the consumer space and you're getting those dopamine hits of like those deals closing so quick, it's like, to your point, that attribution is the absolute dream. And to be able to bring that expertise from that space in a transactional way into a space that should feel like we should be able to make a little more transactional, help people be able to make decisions a little faster, is just, what a lovely history you have in being able to bring that to the table. So hats off to you in building that bridge with your consumer background into the B2B one. What would you say? I promise we won't detour here too long, but I do think it's interesting. And I think we're in an interesting time where this is helpful.
I have a hot take that people aren't going to like. And it's going to be, if you are a B2B marketer, if you are a B2C marketer, if you are cut and dyed in that wool, you think this is the path, this is the way, these are the playbooks. And the truth is, it's a blend. Humans want to be talked to like humans. And so to be good at it, if you're doing ABM, if you're doing a multi-threaded approach, you need to use those B2C communication styles and talk to them like you guys are going to be best friends.
Whether you're buying your favorite pair of shoes that you're about to walk in until they fall apart, to making that MarTech tool or bringing that something into your tech stack as a CISO, it is an emotional buy, and you have to meet people where they are in terms of recognizing that this is a big deal for them and they're putting
Mhm.
money on the table, whether it's theirs or their companies, and their neck's on the line. So
Yeah.
I totally agree that we are so dry in
Yeah.
B2B, and we need to
Yeah.
spice it up and bring some personality into it. And I'm here for that. In terms of where you are today, before we
Mhm.
get into it, what's, one challenge? Obviously, you're looking for a job. I'm sure there's many challenges with that.
Yep.
You're certainly, happy to, wherever your heart sort of leads you today in this question of like, what's hard for you right now? What's in your way?
Honestly, when I think of wanting a new role, I'm not scared or concerned because I'm interviewing right now with 6 different companies. And I can kind of show you the whole thing. I won't show you the active spreadsheet. I'll pull old data just so I don't out people. But I think the truth is, I'm looking for really 2 things in a company. And the reason why I'm industry agnostic is because my desires are I want good ish data. If you think your data's great, you're either lying or ignorant. And I want a good team. I want a great team. I want good-ish data and I want a great team. Those are the 2 things.
How's it been in trying to find? I mean, you're interviewing at 6 companies, which is
Yeah.
unbelievable. And are you finding that more often than not, you're getting both of those things, or are you weeding out pretty quickly of like,
I'm listening to all of the red flags, right? And so before I apply, I'm talking to humans at the companies and I'm just saying like, "Hey, if we were friends, if we went to college together, like would you even tell me to apply?" And I am sometimes hearing where the bodies are buried. Sometimes I'm hearing like, we've got our challenges. Here's the things I'm excited about. Here's, what I'm looking forward to. Here's how we're going to move forward. But if you go, yeah, the last person lasted 72 hours, I'm not applying. I'm not.
72 hours? That's a true story right there.
True story. I asked somebody and she goes, well, I mean, face-to-face coffee chat. And she goes, I just want you to know that the CEO is who you'd be reporting to. And he's been known to micromanage at least for the first 6 months. But once you earn his trust, you earn his trust. And I was like, okay, that's a yellow flag. We're red adjacent. And she goes, and I've been told that there is sexism that's rampant in the C-suite. And I just went, and that's the red flag. Thank you so much for your time. You've talked me out. No, 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 no. We need somebody with your skill set. It's fine. I'm not your human, and that's okay.
How did you? I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to jump in the gun here, but we're here. We're in it. We're going for it. How on earth were you able to get a coffee chat with somebody to get them to spill that kind of tea with you before you decided to interview?
Honestly, and this really will lead into the entire story where I ask, I don't apply to a single role without having the coffee chat, without kicking the tire, without looking under the hood or peeking behind the curtain. Because my whole thing is, am I going to like it there? Right. And so I want to know if you're a second degree connection and I get a warm introduction to you, I'm going to say like, do you like it there? Do you collaborate with the marketing team if you're not on the marketing team? What are they like? Because the last thing I want to do, I mean, I've got purple hair and I live just north of Portland. I'm my own archetype, right? I don't need to be with the buttoned up suits in the room. I'm not going to jive.
So, yes to the red flags.
Yeah.
Red flags matter. That matters.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid of removing your candidacy from your job search. That takes back so much power when you say, thank you so much for your time. I need to remove my candidacy.
It's pretty empowering. I have to say hats off to you, Theresa, because in this market, which I know it's brutal out there, to with so many candidates, you would think that you'd want to just try and land anything you possibly could. So to be this vigilant about
Mhm.
what you're looking for and know what you're worth is just I hope people are listening and leaning into this and feeling empowered as well, because it the turnover is so hard on a company. It's even harder on you all. It's so hard to have to leave a company and start over somewhere else. So I love that you're taking the necessary effort to find that right good data-ish and the right team. It sounds like you
Yeah.
figured out on how to have those coffee chats to figure out if the team is going to be the team and the culture are on the right path. From a data-ish standpoint, do you use that coffee chat to kick those tires, or is that more through the interview process? Like, how do you validate if they're on the right track in terms of their data?
That's the hard part, right? And so that requires a lot of conversations. So I typically look for just the reddest of flags, okay? If I say, okay, how is the data hygiene? If they go, it's great, it's never great. If you know data, you always hate your own. You always hate your own because okay, you can do what you need to do, but you know what you need to do to get it better. And if you are on this constant drive to get better data, cleaner data that allows you to do more, I want to be on that team.
I love that. You're just looking for the keeping it real. Are you keeping
Yeah.
it real?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay on topic. Maybe we'll have
Okay.
to have another podcast about data because I could go down that rabbit hole for ages. But I do want to, and actually, your spreadsheet's going to lend very nicely into what clean data really means. And we're going to be able to see that firsthand, which I'm excited about. Talk to us about your process. So you mentioned you go for the coffee chat.
I just show my spreadsheet and kind of walk you through the process.
Let's do it. Let's do
okay,
it.
so let me hit this present button and let's hope that this works as it should. Fingers crossed. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so, all right. I threw down my current job search data here. This is an old sheet just because I wanted to protect the interviewers that I'm currently with and all of that fun stuff. So when I look at my current data from my 2024 job search, right now when I submit an application, the chance of me getting an interview is just under 55%. And this is a lagging indicator because it takes time from pushing out a bunch of applications to allowing the recruiter to actually circle back with you. And so I've gotten a lot of referral links. I just cleaned up all of that. And so that's there. Now, I also am about 52% in passing a phone screen, but I have 4 different companies that I'm waiting to hear back because I had a couple of interviews this week. And so, again, 2 lagging indicators, but these numbers keep me honest. When I'm in my feels, when I'm thinking it's the end of days and I'm just failing, I actually look at the numbers and go, you know what? Objectively, I'm not doing too bad.
Yeah. So what do you take from these leading indicators and where do you go next?
So the first thing I do is I look at, this is where I started. These are the job boards I was looking at. Now, this entire spreadsheet has been on multiple iterations. A recruiter dropped a ton of job boards. And so I threw them in my spreadsheet. And so I haven't verified any of these. I've started to. So you'll see some of them are paid. Everything I do, I use the free version because there's enough out there. If you put in the sweat equity, I don't think you need to pay, but I will keep everything because I have a variation of the spreadsheet that is a copy that I share freely with others who are searching just to make their lives easier. And that's my goal. I'm trying to sow the good karma exactly where I can so that when I need it, it's there for me. Now, I look at all the roles, I find roles that fit me. And then what I do is I'm going to start over here and I put a link to the role from the company website. And this is important to me because job boards are often outdated, but a company is more likely to update their own website. How am I networking in? How am I getting that referral link? Who am I chatting with to learn if it's a good fit for me, right? Originally, it was stage 1. I didn't apply. I don't use that anymore, which is why it's red. Stage 2, that's my true top of funnel. I'm attempting to make contact. So I'm trying to reach somebody there. 2.5, I've gotten an intro to the company. I don't have a referral link yet, so I need to keep working that lead. 3, I've applied. 4, I'm interviewing. And then 5 is late stage interviews. So now I just sort my spreadsheet and I start my day at the bottom of the spreadsheet every day. Now, you'll notice, like if you're interviewing with multiple companies simultaneously, you're going to need to figure out a way to keep everybody separate. Think of it as dating multiple people. You don't want to say the wrong name. So I take a ton of handwritten notes. And I should have of affiliate links to this, but I don't. But let me see. I have a Rocketbook, which has a QR code. So for my handwritten notes, if I'm going into an interview, I take all of my handwritten notes and I open them so that I can say, hey, when I talked to Jordan, this is what you guys said was important. When I talked to Ellen, this is the priorities that she had. And then these were other conversations I've had with members of the team. Let's talk about this. Let's double click in. And that way I'm able to have very deep, in-depth conversations about what matters to the company. Now, I only touch a lead once a week, right? I don't want to burn my leads out. So again, this is super old data, but you'll see here's when the interviews are scheduled and here's when my follow-ups are due. So I start every day, the bottom of the thing. I only spend 1 to 2 hours on the spreadsheet a day, max. And the reason is if I spend too much, I have too many interviews in a week or I sound really desperate. Neither of those I want. Now, because I'm going for multiple offers, that's my job, is to try to get competing offers. I keep track of the total compensation, right? The role. Does the title meet my expectations? Because that's a negotiation lever. Is it remote? Because if it's hybrid or in office, there's a financial component that counts against the salary. What's the salary? What's the bonus? What are the additional benefits? And you better believe that I math it out. And if you're making me come to the office and I'm paying for transportation or additional childcare or whatnot, I am putting a negative against your salary. So when you say, well, we're offering 162, are you? Because my net is really blank. And then you have a more frank conversation with your recruiter on like, here's the thing. I'm expecting another offer. This is their thing. I'll know in a couple of days. If you get me to X or we change the title or we do these things, then I'm going to sign right now. But if not, I'm going to need to wait a couple days.
You know what you're worth. You know what you're capable of. You know what you're going to bring to the table. So for you to be able to say, here's what I need. Here's the levers we can pull. And then to use I'm waiting for another potential offer to get them to move faster is just like, are you a marketer or are you a salesperson? I don't know the difference right now.
But the thing is, we all need to be our own salespersons, right? We all need to understand who we are because you will do better. You will come from a position of strength if you understand all of these things, and you will execute at a higher level, both during the job or in your personal life or wherever. So I think iron sharpens iron. And I think, there's just this flywheel that we can do for our mental health, our professional health, the whole nine. Now, because I am a demand gen growth marketer, because I only want to spend 1 to 2 hours a day on this, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to rewrite the same message over and over again. So I have scripts. Now, here's a cool thing. If you are posting once a day on LinkedIn and you are commenting on at least 10 humans posts every day with very, robust conversational starting topics and the whole nine, you rank higher in the algorithms. Recruiters are more likely to reach out to you. I come at them with this message. And for me, it sums it up. It talks about my citizenship status, what I'm looking for, both salary band and level. And I hit send. I'm reducing comm cycles.
I think that's really important because I do know that there's some folks who won't comment or are afraid to be mentioned in comments because then they're afraid of the recruiter onslaught that follows up with this. So I think not reducing your visibility because you're afraid of that, but being open to the fact that this is just what's going to happen and being prepared to navigate that in a really easy, intentional way, I think is awesome. Because it's that sales side dealing with recruiters, it can be exhausting. So just having a quick way to get that out of the way is scripts. It's great. And don't reduce your visibility because you're afraid of that. This is a great way to lean into it.
I have a failed test. Now, I labeled it a failed test and I kept it here because when I am honest with myself, and that's the only way we can grow, I would probably reach out to Kerry and be like, Kerry, oh my gosh, we know a ton of great people like Leanne in common. And if you're friends with Leanne, you're going to be great friends with me. And there's a role at your company that I'm interested in. And Kerry doesn't care. Kerry's going to ignore and click the I don't know this person, right? But what I have found is if I say, hey, Leanne, can you introduce me to Kerry? Kerry sounds fantastic. Then Kerry's going to give me a warm introduction. Or Leanne's going to give me a warm introduction to Kerry. And now I'm able to have a better relationship. And they'll be like, hey, Kerry, now that you and I know that we have mutual humans and that'll vouch for me, can we have a coffee chat? Just 15 minutes, right? Roll at your company. I want to learn about the culture. And that's the truth. And during that call, I'm going to say, What is it like? How good's the data? What are struggles that you have? What are goals that you have? Where do you see the company struggling to hit those goals, or what could distract them? And then the last two questions are, if we were friends, would you suggest me applying? And that's where you wait for the yes, no. And then, okay, you know what? You say yes, that you would suggest it. I know that many companies have referral bonuses. I could apply blindly, or I could give you the benefit of getting that referral bonus if I'm hired. Could you give me a referral link? And now I've incentivized you to help me.
Oh my gosh. Backdoor. I think the coffee chat's really interesting. And
Yeah.
do you have any data on how often people will take those chats with you? I mean, just a gut
You,
feeling, like, do people generally say yes to those, or do you find that you get shut down a lot?
I've only gotten shut down once in this last job search. If you're communicating with me, it's a very high probability that we're going to have a coffee chat, extremely high. And then whether or not I hit you up for a referral link, that depends on our conversation.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think the beauty of the coffee chat is it's so low pressure and it's not about you. So you
Yeah,
get to get them to talk all about themselves and the company, and there's no light on you yet in terms of like being interviewed. This is
right.
just a chance to learn about and to show your interest, right? When you sit there with curiosity and you're asking them about themselves, that actually is puts you in a really good light of this person seems really interested and they might be really good for this role if this is how they show up every day, right? So
Mhm.
it just is a wonderful way to create connection and great that people say yes to that of doing these coffee chats. How long
Well,
do you normally is it like 20 minutes? Is it an hour? How long do you hang out?
I asked for 15, and most of the time I'm very like, hey, you agreed to 15, we're approaching that time. I want to be considerate of it. Now, if they have more to share and all of that, then that gives me the opportunity to be like, actually, I've got time. But the last thing you want to do is to have just cornered somebody in a Zoom meeting and, really held them hostage. That doesn't bode well. They're not likely to go champion your candidacy. So
It's true.
I try to be very honoring. I actually have a copy of the spreadsheet, the leads, the niche job boards, the compensation page, all the scripts I use, and I'll share those, and chat GPT prompts. And I share it with gobs of people. Like, I've literally done a full webinar on this before where I had at least 80 people on the call. And I make it available for them to share with others. So there's hundreds of people with this spreadsheet.
Awesome. We'll get that off to you guys. Do you want to send it via DMs? Do you want to just how do you want people to grab it from you?
Oh gosh, you know what I'll do is I will hit share. I'll put this in the chat between you and I will empower
Okay.
you.
I'll
That way,
jump
if
in.
people hit you up, and I'm open on LinkedIn, right? Like, you want to connect. Like, I'm here for it, especially if you're like, hey, give me that spreadsheet.
Any thoughts on chat groups like Pavilion or Rev Genius? I'm assuming they're talking about when you're looking for a job and job boards, if those are viable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in so many Slack groups to varying degrees of lurker versus like active member. Um, I honestly think it's going to be the humans who know you kind of loosely are going to do more to increase your candidacy than people whom you're super close with, right? You can reach out to people you've worked with for years and years, and they might have busy lives or a stigma. And you might think, you owe me. I helped you move twice, and they're going to be like, you know what? I can't help right now. But it's going to be those looser connections. We're going to be like, hey, I saw this role, thought of you, send. Saw this role, thought of you, send. Hey, you need to talk to so and so. Here's the hidden job you didn't know about. Like, those things are going to be great. So posting in those groups, showing up organically, showing up to help. If you say, hey, I saw you had a problem, I can help you. I'm not asking for anything. It's going to take 5 minutes. I can just help you figure it out, untie this knot, move on.
There just seems to be this natural way that you operate in terms of the paying it forward notion,
Yeah.
like not expecting anything in return and creating sort of this circle of influence. And it sounds like if you're going to show up to these chat areas and groups, that's sort of the notion you need to step into with it.
Mhm.
I feel the same way. if you're looking to get something from these people, that's not really the right mentality to show up in any social space, really. It's more about how can I contribute? What value can I bring? And, in helping others, it will come back to you, not necessarily from those people. I always find it to be that way. I don't know about you,
Right.
Theresa, but it's not necessarily, I don't find it come back to me necessarily from the exact person that I helped, but because I paid it forward to them and then they paid it forward to somebody else, it circles back around in a really lovely way over time. But it's not an immediate
100%.
payoff.
Yeah. It's the long game.
You talked about what not to do. Do you
Yeah.
have further scripts on what we should be doing?
Oh, yeah. So you've gotten the referral link, you've applied. Now, if you're able to identify the hiring manager or recruiter, send a connect request on LinkedIn with a note. Now, the goal is not to connect with them. And this sounds so counterintuitive. And if you send it with a note, you can say, "Hey, hiring manager, I applied to this role. Here's, kind of the why you should talk to me." And 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to hit accept. And that's okay because you don't necessarily want them to. Like if they do, fantastic, right? I'm not going to say like actively try to avoid that. Your goal is to get them to look at your profile. Your goal is to get them to look at your resume. And if you're able to whet that appetite, this is the time to do it. And then the next one is, so you have the interview and then you have a week of silence. The very next thing I do is this script was given word for word from a recruiter who posted a TikTok. The recruiter was from Google. They're like, "Here's how you follow up. Don't do, I just wanted to be proactive. I just wanted to check in." Take out just, it's passive aggressive. Come at it from a position of strength. And then, like roll, come up with a reason that, you thought of them. Include a GIF, like include your personality in this, but this basically being the overall thing. Obviously, if it's not Friday, don't say Friday. Now, these next two, I'm going to be completely honest. They are ChatGPT generated. It's not my best look, but I'm going to own it. And I'm going to show you the holes in my own logic. My thoughts are, first off, I didn't care when I got to this point. And my thoughts were, if we've had 2 or 3 weeks of silence, I don't know if the recruiter truly cares what I wrote, just that I checked in. And since at the time when I had these generated, my brain was like, I just can't. But I need to do something. So this is the good enough button. Eventually, I will rewrite those. Today is not the day.
I think that's so key because a lot of times people don't actually read these emails. They're just, again, to your point, just looking that you even checked in. And if that much silence has gone on, chances are it's a hopeful, not a definite, right?
Yeah.
I think that first message is definitely more important. And what I love that you said, and I want to double down on, is the passive aggressive language, coming back to, again, what you're worth and knowing what you bring to the table and not shying away from trying to be that people pleasing, just checking in. If you're okay with it, would you mind sort of language? It's just being like, here's what's happening, here's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
We had this interview. Are we ready to move forward? Let's go.
Do we have alignment? Yes, no.
Yeah. And let's talk about the no for a second. I have a question on that.
Yeah.
In terms of the no's. Do you find the no's just as helpful as the yeses? I find that people are being ghosted left, right, and center. Are you getting no's or are you getting ghosted?
Yes, and. And so if I can go through all 3 weeks and I don't hear from you, I move you to my elephant graveyard at the top of my spreadsheet. I move on. I don't have time for you. Thank you. Next.
So you take the no answer as a no.
If we go a full 3 weeks, radio silence, there's not alignment because you would not treat me the way I want to be treated. Period. Now, I haven't gone so far as to say, "Hey, it's been a month since we chatted. I'm removing my candidacy." I take no answer as an answer. And I mentally move you to the top of my sheet and I don't look at you. And when you circle back, I go, "What happened? We need to have a conversation about this." Now, if the hiring manager had some kind of awful thing happen or there were extenuating circumstances, I would like to know that as well. But if you can't give me a good reason, maybe we don't have alignment.
Lots of flags to read in the no answer I love that. And then for you to not, just because they showed back up doesn't mean you should jump right on in. So yes to
Yep.
that. Yes. All right. Close us out here with your scripts. What you got? How do you,
Okay, so there's really, I'll do this last chunk. Now, I haven't done this yet. Now, you can get a free HubSpot account. I have a free HubSpot account. I've done that much. What I plan on doing, this is kind of my junk drawer, is getting a list of startups that are Series B or greater that have fundraised in the last 90 days. And then I want to go through that list. And anybody who doesn't have a function for a demand gen, highlight them, and then find the email address, CTO, CMO, EO, and then come up with a drip campaign. Hey, I see you don't have a demand gen. What a coincidence. I'm free agent. Let's connect. When you are looking for a job, let's say you're looking in a new industry or a different company, right? You can ask ChatGPT or your AI of choice, what are the challenges that company or that industry faces? And then use those responses in your cover letter. Keep it open for your phone screen about how you naturally overcome those. It shows alignment and it shows you where those transferable skills are. This next one, super critical, right? When you have an ATS that grades your resume against the job, you can say, here's the job description, here's the resume, show me where I fit, where I don't fit. And then it'll kick out this. It'll say, here's what you have experience in doing. And then here's where you have no experience. And you can look at this, you go, wait a minute, I've actually done these things. Well, here's the specific wording you need to update on your resume.
That's amazing. And I think there's a couple of things I want to double down on this here. One is, I think the personalization is key because there are those systems out there that easily weed people out. I don't know if you read this story. I think it went around on Reddit where they were getting like these candidates that weren't fitting at all. Mm-hmm. And so the person who was actually in the role submitted his resume.
Yeah.
And they didn't accept it. And the entire HR team, like the entire recruitment team got fired from that company.
Right. Because you should have caught that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think being really critical of your resume to make sure it actually touches on those points. Way to use ChatGPT to make that life easier is fantastic. I also want to call out, because we're women here, and as women looking for jobs, we have our own challenges. Mm-hmm. How are you approaching that notion of the 80% rule? So there's data to show that men will apply for a role when they're like 75, 80% qualified and not fully, mm-hmm. where women feel like they can't apply for a role unless they 100% feel like they can do it. Where are you sort of in that realm?
I mean, I'm closer to the 80, 90%, like I need to match, right? But if I have a great coffee chat where I'm like, okay, this role seems close enough, and I have a coffee chat and the person I connect with just mirrors my soul, and I go, oh, we could be besties, then I'm more likely to overcome that sense of hesitation.
The imposter syndrome of it all, though. But if you have a good, mm-hmm. strong team behind you, you all can overcome it together. I love coffee chats. We keep coming back to the coffee chat. It feels like such a critical moment in this whole process as we keep talking. Go ahead. Coffee chat. No,
my goal is to have 3 coffee chats a week. The interviews will come. The applications will come. I want 3 coffee chats because that will increase my network. That will increase my candidacy. That will increase the quality of my life.
Demand Gen, right here, we are unpacking how to get after building your funnel with the best case study possible. So many times we're looking for those demos and mm-hmm. and that revenue, and what great leading indicators than a top of funnel metric like a coffee chat.
Yeah.
This is not a demo request yet, folks. This is
no.
We're getting to know each other. And is there opportunity here? And how many of those getting to know each other moments do I need to know that the revenue will come, to know that the interview and the job will come? So for you, it's 3 coffee chats a week.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Like everything in a nutshell.
Yeah. Is there anything in terms of, let's say you have, let's say that follow-up is happening and they are starting mm-hmm. to have conversation with you and things are going in the right direction. Is there anything you do, like if you're really excited about a role Is there any little extra anything you do to try and keep the conversation alive as you're like in between moments, or you know that they might be looking at other candidates and you have to just sort of wait a minute, assuming they're being transparent?
I mean, I might try to continue to network with people outside of the hiring panel, to continue looking. Or I might just go, okay, I've done all I can. I'm putting the pause there and I'm going to continue to work on other opportunities. And in a completely transparent moment, there was a moment during this recent job search, I let my funnel dry up. I got so excited about a role, got super close. And ultimately, despite, being a very strong candidate, I got second place in the beauty contest. So I didn't quite make it to that offer round. So with that, it was, I'm not necessarily going to overinvest in a single role. I need to keep filling that funnel, because if I don't, I've wasted valuable time.
This is so key, not for both. Like I said, what's so beautiful about this conversation, why I was so looking forward to it, is it's a wonderful case study for how to do demand gen right and to help people find their next gig in a really intentional way of focusing on what they can control in the process, because there's so much of it's out of our hands. I just really love the power of how demand gen really can work and how we need to think about it differently. And that there it is. If we lose sight of our top of funnel and our brand, and we're so focused on that bottom of funnel and revenue, to this point, such a great example of how your funnel will dry up and then you have to go all the way back to the beginning. How long did it take you to build up that top of funnel once you realized, oh no, I have
It
no new
dried.
leads?
Well, it was a week of mourning. And I'll own it. It was a week of
Yeah,
me
fair.
just, under a weighted blanket with some hot tea and just allowing myself to let go of my dreams for that role and just going, okay, you know what? You're in your feels and that's fine. And then it was like probably another 2.5 weeks truly of like getting the coffee chats, getting them going to start seeing the interviews come back. And it's hard. It's hard to do that, especially when you talk about trying to come at things from a position of strength. And when you don't feel it and you've got to fake it, that's tough. And so that's when you're doing more chats with other job searchers where you're lifting each other up. You're sending each other memes. You're sending each other TikToks, like that's part of this as well.
I think that's where the chat rooms come in, right? So the Rev Genius, I'm part of Marketing Women. If you're a part of that group, they're amazing. Go check them out. Another group that's just like when you're having it, you don't feel like you have the energy and you just need people to bond together with who are all, multiple people who are going through the same situation. I think that's really what those communities are about. And that's the way to definitely lean into them when you're trying to work through some of these hard situations of finding a new job or working through something that's hard in marketing or whatever the case may be. That is the real power of those communities, I think. Yes, job opportunities and those sort of, moments might come, but walking into those communities with more intention around being part of finding people who are in the same boat is absolutely the way to think about those. I could talk to you for hours, Theresa. I'm so grateful for this conversation. There's so much more I want to unpack with you just in terms of marketing and how much we could learn from you as a whole. Thank you so much for jumping on with me last minute. What an honor. Before we go, is there any last piece of advice you have for folks who are in the same boat with you in that moment to leave them with a feeling, you know, pulling up their bootstraps and
Right.
continuing on another day?
Literally come at it from a systematic approach, whatever system you choose, right? It's going to be whatever works for you, but be consistent with it. And next, only do an hour or two a day. That's it. And then go out and bake cookies, garden, clean your house, do things that fill you up, because right now you have more time available to you than you will ever have when you're employed. So volunteer at your kid's school, go like deliver meals to needy people, like do what you can to help to fill your cup so that when you have that call, you've got the dopamine, you've got the oxytocin flowing freely.
You've earned it. You're allowed, and it's okay, and it's great. I love that. If you would like to follow up with Theresa, you can definitely find her on LinkedIn. We are going to drop her link to, let me figure that out. Maybe DM me. Either drop a comment in the chat to say you want the spreadsheet and I'll send it to you, or just hit me up in DMs and I'll send it to you that way. However, whatever's easier for you guys.
Or hit me up too. I'm here to make friends.
Yeah. We'll get you the sheet. Let us know you want it and we'll get it over to you. Also, let us know what you're looking for so we can keep our eyes peeled for it as well. Anywhere else they can find you, Theresa?
Oh gosh. I'm on TikTok, but my TikTok presence is not professional. And so it's not under my name, but it's TWIGLIOT. And it's just going to be crazy history stories.
She has a podcast.
I do. I have the Unhinged History podcast. So if you're looking for a distraction, and who isn't in this world, let's say you want to learn about female gangs in London, which is an episode we recorded last night. It'll come out in December. Or let's say you want to learn about the Dublin whiskey fire, where a river of whiskey flew through the streets and it was incredible. Or the molasses flood, or like, oh gosh, a samurai that came from the Sudan, and there is a Black African samurai from 1580 something, and his story about how he was an absolute badass. We've got all kinds of crazy things.
Yes. Oh yeah, so good. Definitely tune into Unhinged History. I will be doing the same. I think we all need a bit of joy right now.
Yeah.
So what's bringing you joy?
You know, that's part of the reason why I have the history podcast, is so my friend and I have a timed session every week where we hang out together and we just tell each other the crazy things we're learning by ourselves in our own closets. And it's like, oh my gosh, did you know that they're the history of war elephants? And you're like, no. It's like, okay, well, buckle up.
Oh, it's amazing. Putting time on the calendar with your bestie in any way is always a wonderful place to find joy. I just had my best friend here a few weeks ago, and there was crazy chaos. She brought her 3-year-old, and we just laughed through the chaos of surviving in another country while, with your children. So great. I love that. Theresa, I'm so grateful for this conversation. I'm so grateful to everybody who showed up in the comments. If you are listening to this asynchronously and you have questions, please ask. We'll be paying attention. We'll be following along, and we'll get back to you for sure. So don't be afraid, even though you missed this live, to chime back on in. We're grateful you're here. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. This episode was brought to you by MKG Marketing, the digital market agency that helps complex brands get found via SEO and digital ads. So it's by me, Kerry Guard, CEO and co-founder of MKG Marketing. If you are looking for a job and you're in the marketing space, I would love to have you on and to help you out in finding your next thing. Let's do it. Let's partner together. Let's make it happen. Thank you all so much, Theresa. Thank you again.